just flowing river. It flows river. The river stops. Small pool, very cool. As long as the river, it keeps itself full and it purifies whosoever comes in contact with it. Then it is very cool, hot cool. But it becomes dirty. Accumulation of fungus and everything else. And whomsoever comes near, they also become dirty. As long as it is flowing, it is a river, expression. When it stops moving, depression. In our life also, as long as your mental thinking, your energy is just flowing, it's just moving without being stopped either by the greed or by the fear. Attachment makes you stop and fear makes you stop. Attachment and the fear. These are the two things makes your life dull. You may think, how can you say Swami, attachment only makes our life more joyful? It is never the attachment. If you have the attachment, you can never enjoy anything. You can never enjoy if you are attached to something. Because if you are attached, you will only try to preserve or protect, never enjoy it. To enjoy, to live it, you need to let go. Only when you let go the things, you can really live the things. Only when you have the courage to live, you will have the courage to live. Most of us don't express ourselves, don't give our love, because we are afraid one day we may be cheated. One day we may be exploited. One day he may take himself back. She may move away from us. The fear that he may move away from us, she may take herself back, makes us not to open our hand, open our heart too much. Even in your relationship, even in your love, you are very careful, very calculative. You see, you try your best not to open up too much. The fear that he may move, she may take away herself from you, makes you not to open. The attachment, the very root of the attachment is nothing but the fear. The attachment is the idea which never lets you flow as you are. It never lets you to change your life. It never lets you to flow with existence. Whenever seed dies, whenever your desires die, your attachment dies, you move or you become a new person. Your next dimension opens. Your attachment to the dolls and toys should die for you to grow. Unless those attachments are dead, how can you grow? Your attachment to dolls and toys, how can you grow to the level of getting attached to the real car? When you let go your attachments with the doll, you grow to the level of getting attached to the real thing. When you let go, you grow one step further. Letting go or letting not come back by the attachment is not a way to express yourself. You come upon a new creative things. Your life is flooded by creativity. As on now, because of our attachment and the fear. When I say attachment, I don't mean only the physical things. Attachment to your concepts, attachment to your judgments, attachment to your ideologies. Even those things makes you very dull and depressed. Most of the time, we carry others' opinions, others' ideologies, others' philosophies on our head. Small story. Are the people who suffer most on the planet Earth. Philosophers never put hell because they are already in hell. A philosopher, he wants to repair his shoes. He ran to a cobbler who repairs his shoes. He asked him, "Can you repair my shoes? I have to go and repair my shoes." The cobbler is a saint. He's a Zen master. He said, "I can barely repair it and give you, but it takes at least half an hour." The philosopher said, No, I have to go urgently, do something immediately. Then master said, "Alright, then wear the another pair of shoes." He gave another pair of shoes. Told, "Wear this pair, go to your lecture and come back. By the time you come back, I'll keep your shoes ready. Your shoes will be ready. You can have them back." The man got terribly angry. And you can see one more symptom of philosopher's ego. That man got totally angry. What? How can you how can you tell me to wear somebody else's shoes? Master was very cool. When you can carry so many person's ideas on your head, why not somebody else's shoes on your legs? This is much better than that. Most of the time, we carry everybody's ideas on our head. Others' ideologies, prejudices on our head. We get attached to the ideology and concepts. That's a beautiful saying by a Western philosopher. You cannot step into the same river twice. Because next time when you step, the river has changed. The water has changed. It is not the same water. It is not the same river. You may be stepping from the same ghat, same steps, but never into the same river. Because it is always new. Every second the river is new. That is why they say you cannot step into the same river twice. But I tell you, you cannot even step into the same river once. How? By the time you put your steps into the water, by the time it reaches the ground, the water has changed. By the time your leg reaches the ground or the sand in the river, the water has changed. So not only twice, you cannot step into the river even once. Just like a river, life is changing moment to moment. But you hold on to your ideologies, your concepts, your prejudices about the situation, about the person. About the situation and about the persons. You have your own idea about the persons. You have your own idea about the situation. you have your own idea about everything. You think this person means he will act like this only. That person means he will react like this only. There is every chance he must have changed. He might have been transformed. But we never respect others' transformation. And not only the others change, even you change many times. Yesterday you may be the person with full of anger and vengeance. Today something would have happened to you. There is every possibility. Your inner personality must have changed. But because you don't believe the transformation can happen to you, because you don't trust the transformation is possible to you, because you never feel or trust the transformation or the growth can happen to you, you bring the same mental setup, you bring the same type of reaction, you take the same type of decisions in the today you may be a person with anger, today you may be you may be hurt, you must have felt disturbed. Today there is a chance you have learned yesterday's experience, but you don't trust your inner consciousness, you don't let go your decisions, you don't change your choices because you don't trust that growth can happen to you, transformation can happen to you. Today when somebody criticizes us, again unconsciously you choose the same decision which you did yesterday. Will come and ask me, Swamiji, what you say sounds so nice to us. We feel every word from your mouth is a truth. It's ultimate truth. But we are stuck, we are not able to practice. Especially these so-called Vedantic students. If you want to see the schizophrenic people, go and see the Vedantic students. Vedantic students are nothing but schizophrenic. Their head pulls one side, heart pulls the other side. They are always in dilemma. Problem. I have seen many Vedantic students. They come and tell me, Swamiji, I understand all the truth, but in practical life I am not able to put it. I am not able to have experientially. What can I do, Swami? What should I do? When you say, I understand, I am not able to put into practical life, somewhere you miss. Understand one thing. Do you say, I understand the fire will burn, but Swamiji, I am not able to resist putting my hands into the fire? You never say that. When you understand the fire will burn, automatically you keep yourself out. Even if you are touched by the fire, you run. When you follow that, why not this? First thing, there is some serious problem in your understanding. You may not have understood, but you may be posing yourself that you have understood. Next thing, after understanding some new concept, let go your old ideologies. Don't have attachment to your past decisions. Don't have attachment in the way you which lived. You have an old mental setup. You have old mental conditioning, way of reacting to the situations, way of reacting to the persons, way of reacting to the life. Your attachment to those ways of reacting to the persons, to those ways of reacting to the situations, to those ways of reacting to the life, never lets you enter into the new understanding. When you let go your old ways of reacting, your old ways of choices, when you are not attached to your old ways, to your old choices, when you let go, you'll end up with a new understanding. Any seed which decides to die only can become tree. Deciding to sprout means deciding to die. All pathfinders are path breakers. When you decide to sprout, you decide to die. Only when you decide to die as an old person, you will decide to be born as a new person, new being. Most of the time, our attachment to the concepts, to the ideologies, to the philosophies makes us not to move ahead. That is the major obstruction which makes your personality from river to the pool, from expression to depression. Depression is nothing but the mood or the mind which does not flow with the life. It is nothing but the energy of your being not able to cope up with the reality. You have two things, the imaginary life and the real life. When your imaginary being, when your concept about yourself or your concept with which you live, your decisions with which you face your life, all these things, when they are not able to cope up with reality, you fall in depression. Whenever your being does not meet the real life, you fall in depression. The conflict between the real life and your being, the reality and your imagination is what I call depression. Whenever you are in conflict, you are in depression. Depression can be used as a beautiful meditation in Tantra. They say that a beautiful teaching set a teaching attributed to Shiva, which is written 5,000 years ago. The full name of it is called Mahanirvana Tantra, the way to attain the eternal liberation. Tantra means technique, Nirvana means liberation, Mahanirvana means eternal liberation or ultimate liberation. The ultimate liberation, way to ultimate liberation, the technique to ultimate liberation. There is a beautiful sloka. Whenever your mind falls in depression, don't resist with it. By resisting, again you will be creating one more imagination how you should be. I have always seen worry is one problem. People start worrying about the worries. They come and tell me, Swamiji, I have too many worries, what can I do? They make one more worry out of the worries. Now, as on now, if you have 10 problems, the one more problem, 11th problem, you have so many worries. 11th problem is created by the idea that you have too many worries. Fighting with worries or resisting the worries only going to create one more worry. Again that becomes one more stone, one more rock which stops your growth. If you are worrying, they say the worry can be used simply as a technique to reach yourself. Actually, in depression, you are more solid than in joy. So if you can use the depression as the path, you can reach your being. In depression, you can actually touch your being. Depression can become an experience of peace in you. Whenever you want the aloneness, Whenever your inner being wants little rest from your regular activities, it sends you the message. That message only is read as a depression by you. It just wants to rewind. It just wants to rest for few days or for few minutes or for few hours. But by the society, the conditioning of the society has taught you rest or relaxing means something wrong. You have an idea, you have a deep condemnation against resting or laziness. Society never wants you to rest. Society wants you to run, because only then it can use you. For the sake of utility of the society, it has created a deep guilt in you about the rewinding or the resting process. Even when you rest just to run, not for the sake of enjoying the rest. All your vacation, you take the vacation just to run again. Even at the time of vacation, you are expecting when it will end, when I can start running again. You are just waiting to run. The gap between two wars can never be called as peace. It is preparation for the other war. War, preparation for the other war, war. Gap between two wars can never be called as peace. Just like that. Your vacation can never be called as vacation. It is just a gap between two wars. You are preparing again to wage the war. That is why even in your vacations, you don't rest. You don't relax. Inside your mechanism, inside your system, you have a deep hatred towards resting, towards relaxing, towards laziness. The very word laziness has got some condemnation in it. Your mental setup has become such. You resist your need for aloneness. You resist your being's request for its own space. Your being needs its own space. Your being needs a little bit of aloneness. But your resistance to give aloneness, your resistance to give space for your being only creates depression. When you resist, being starts taking away, being starts rewinding itself, being starts shrinking from your mind. Your being getting shrunk from your own being. Part of your being is just rewinding from your activities, your regular day-to-day routine. That is what you call depression. Again, you start fighting with it. Fighting makes the depression much worse. Depression is like a black hole. If you don't resist and enter into it, it can create Big Bang. If you resist, never think you are not going to be taken inside. You will be sucked inside beyond your resistance. Whenever you resist, depression is like a death. As long as you resist, depression is a death. When you just allow it to happen, it just regenerates you totally. It regenerates you. There is a beautiful meditation technique they give in Tantra. When somebody is depressed, they tell him to meditate on blackness, not darkness, blackness. There is a difference between darkness and blackness. Darkness is the lightlessness. Blackness is the vibrant, vital darkness. Darkness is the negative aspect of blackness. Blackness is the positive aspect of darkness. We know only one thing. Black means it is dark, that's all. We do not know something like positive darkness. There is something positive darkness. That is what they call causal body. Darkness means shunya. Blackness means purna. Darkness means the lightlessness. It's nothing. Blackness means which is totality, whole. It can be explained in this way. Blackness is the blackness of the womb from which you are born. Darkness is darkness of the death in which you get lost. But ultimately, both meet and merge in one point. If you relax into the darkness, it becomes blackness. It regenerates you. If you relax into the sleep, next day morning you are fresh to live your one day life, one more day. If you don't relax into the sleep, even in the sleep you will be continuously resisting with your being. The resistance with your being is only called nightmare. Even in the sleep, you don't relax with yourself. You just want to jump here, there, here, there. Even in the time of sleeping, when you don't rest with yourself, you face nightmares. When you go deep with your darkness of sleeping, you enter into such a deep blackness. The space in which your being is regenerated. Next day morning, again you are fresh. Tantra says, when you come out of your sushupti, sleep, you should be fresh just like birds and animals. Have you seen any bird morose, tired after the sleep? As soon as morning it wakes up, you can see the birds chirping and the calf just running around, the mother, cow, dog, it will just go and check its boundary. Even the street dogs, early morning as soon as they get up, they wake up, they will go around and check their boundary, whether others have intruded, whether their boundaries are safe or not. Cat, as soon as they woke up, they just stretch the whole body. In Hatha Yoga there is an exercise called cat stretch. As soon as they wake up from the bed, they will stretch the whole body. The whole nervous system will be alive. Human being is the only animal who turns as soon as he wakes up from the sleep. As soon as we wake up from the sleep, what we do? Turn and pull the blanket. Human being is the only animal who is tired of taking rest. No other animal feels tired after taking rest. We are the only animal who feel tired of taking rest. Why? Because even in deep sushupti, we don't rest. We condemn darkness. Our resistance to die never lets us relax. Our resistance to let go, our attachments to the wakeful state never lets you fall into the deep sleep. That is what you see in the name of dreams or in the nightmares. Whenever you are caught by attachments, you see dreams. Whenever you are caught by fears, you see nightmares. Fears and attachment, they both are the main reason which doesn't let you to flow into the darkness. If you know how to flow into the darkness, you will be able to have a deep possible sleep. Whenever you have the deepest possible sleep, your deep sleep regenerates you totally. If you have the deep quality of sleep, your wakeful state also will be in a different quality. If you don't have night dreaming, you will not have daydreaming. Because daydreaming and night dreaming are very closely related. They are very closely connected. Whenever the quality of your sleep increases, the quality of wakeful state also increases. Jagrata and Sushupti are very closely related. The Swapna is the thing which makes Jagrat also off and Sushupti also off. In Jagrat also you are off. In Swapna also you are off. In Sushupti also you are off. Swapna means dreaming. Dreaming is nothing but greed and the fear. Dreaming is nothing but your attachments and the fears. Attachments and the fears are the root of dreamings. If you are greedy of the future, you are attached to greed. If you are afraid of the future, you are attached to fear. Fear and the greed are the two major reasons never lets you fall into the deep state of your being. Whenever your quality of sleep increases, whenever you enter into the Sushupti directly, whenever you don't have the dream between the Jagrat and Sushupti, you reach a new state called Jagrat Sushupti. As long as the dream is there in between, the Jagrat and Sushupti stays apart. Both are contaminated. When the dream is taken out, Jagrat and Sushupti gets united. In Jagrat also you will be total. In Sushupti also you will be total. Jagrat Sushupti is what we call Turiya, the fourth state. Then whole 24 hours you are just flowing. Turiya means don't think. That is a different kind of state. We have a great fear towards these words, and especially these Vedantic teachers and preachers. They have spoiled the whole spirituality by giving too big meanings to these words, making them as impractical as possible. The very words makes us frightened. That is why I never use these words. Very rarely I use these Sanskrit words. Turiya, Atman, Paramatman, Nirvana. All these words I try my best to avoid because they are totally contaminated, loaded with unnecessary meanings. Instead of giving a direct explanation, they have been loaded by too much of unnecessary meanings. Tell you the simple understanding, simple way of flowing with your thoughts. When you live totally. When you leave totally. This is a simple method to taste Turiya directly. When you live totally without dreams, you will taste Turiya. When you live totally without dreams, again you will taste Turiya. Daydreaming and night dreaming are the only opposites, only enemies for Turiya. Once you throw away the guilt. Today morning, I had been to a devotee's house. He was asking me the same question, the same subject. How do we balance the outer world and the inner world? How much I am supposed to work and how much I am supposed to be in spiritual activity? I told him, as long as you try to balance, reconcile, you will be in conflict. The very idea, both are contradictory, is the contradictory in you. The very idea is wrong. Very idea that living and leaving are two contradictory things only creates trouble. When you live, you carry a guilt. Oh, I am supposed to live. I am supposed to attached only to the God. I am supposed to be a divine. I am living all these desires. What will I do? When will I grow? You carry a guilt. When you leave, again you carry a hangover of desire. I have not lived, I have not done that, I have not enjoyed this, I have not enjoyed that. How can I leave? You see, I am having so much of desires. I am being pulled towards it. What will I do? When you leave also, you carry desire When you live, you carry guilt. Carrying guilt and carrying desire never lets you live or live totally. Any experience which is not fulfilled in your being, half fulfilled or unfulfilled, whether it's a desire or fear or greed or lust or anger, anything, when it is unfulfilled, that just pulls you back to fulfill itself. Unfulfilled experiences have got a tremendous power, force, capacity to call you back, to pull you back to fulfill itself. Because you are fulfillment. Your basic nature is Purna. Your basic quality is fulfillment. You cannot have anything which is unfulfilled. So any desire, any emotion, any sanskar, any karma which is unfulfilled, any experience which is unfulfilled in your being, pulls you back, calls you back to fulfill itself. Anything which calls you back to fulfill itself is called as karma. The pull of karma is nothing but the pull of your own thoughts, your own experiences which is unfulfilled. So anything left unfulfilled pulls you back, calls you back to fulfill itself. When you live totally, you will know how to live totally. If you know how to get depressed totally, you will know how to express yourself totally. But the very word depression has got a condemnation in it. You do not want to get depressed. You resist continuously with the depression. You resist the black hole. That is why you will never let the Big Bang happening. Big Bang is a Srishti. Black hole is a Pralaya. Only when you allow the Pralaya to happen, the Big Bang can happen. The Srishti can happen. Srishti and Pralaya are one and the same. Every moment the Pralaya is happening. Every moment the Srishti is happening. If you know how to let the breath go out, only then you will know how to breathe. Breathe in. The depth of breathing out and the depth of breathing in will be one and the same. If you know how to cooperate with the destruction or pralaya, you will know how to express yourself. Depression is pralaya, expression is srishti. So let depression take you over whenever it is necessary. Meditate on the darkness. Meditate on the blackness. Whenever you feel your being needs aloneness, your being giving you a notice, warning that it wants to get depressed, let you cooperate with your being. Let you allow the depression to happen to you. Let you allow the darkness to take you over. Let you allow yourself into the blackness. Then you will see, when you come out, you will be totally a different person. There are two ways. You can reach the divine by Purna or by Shunya. I tell you, in early times, Purna was the nature. Before the scientific revolution, Purna was the nature of human beings. They are not stressed. The stress was very less. There is a meditation technique in Patanjali. Just sit and chant Om, you will have ecstasy. But today, if you just sit and chant Om, what you will have? You will have only the drowsiness. In those times, the people, by their nature, were joyful, ecstatic. The nerves are very sensitive. They were able to be alive. For them, those techniques have worked. For them, the method is to go through Purna, to go through joy. Today, modern man is filled with stress, depression, worries. For you, even through depression, you can reach the divine. So, whenever the setup of the mind changes, techniques also can be changed. Now, if you try to enter into the path of Purna, you will be again resisting your nature. Our nature has become depression now. As on now, whether you accept or not, our nature has become depression. So using the depression as a method is the only way to reach the divine, reach the deep state of expression. As long as you resist the depression, accept some more problems, nothing else can be achieved. No medication. I tell you, no medication is going to help depression. Only in last 1 year, 2003, 103 million depression medication prescriptions are issued only in US. In the States, 103 million depression medication prescriptions are issued. This shows we are fighting with the depression. We are fighting with our own being. It's like you try to pull your shoelace and try to fly. Can you fly by pulling your shoelace? Never. It will create only fight between yourself and yourself. So, as long as you fight your depression, there is no way of you coming out of it. It's like a fighting with your own shadow. As long as you are alive, you will have your shadow. As long as you enjoy the togetherness, you will need aloneness. If you are enjoying the togetherness, attachments to the world, naturally you need a little bit of space for your aloneness. You enjoy togetherness, but you resist aloneness. You enjoy the life, you resist the death. But you don't understand, both are two sides of the same coin. When you know how to enter deeply into the depression, you will know how to enter deeply into the expression. Depression is the seed for expression. Expression is the way to depression. They are just cycles of life and death. They are nothing but the peak and valley of your beings. The peak of your valley, peak of your being is expression. Valley of your being is a depression. If you resist the valley, naturally you will resist the peak. The height of the peak and depth of the valley is naturally proportionate. If the height is more, the depth is going to be more. If the depth is more, height is going to be more. A man who knows how to handle the depression, if you know how to go deep with the depression, how to travel with the depression, then even depression cannot depress you. Worry cannot make you worry. Then worry will worry how to make you worry. Depression will get depressed how to make you depressed. If you know how to travel with the depression, depression can never depress you. The very idea of depression will be lost. As long as you resist, only then it's a depression. When you know how to travel with it, how to cooperate with it, how to relax with it, depression can never depress you. That is what Gita means. Sida Ushna Samadukkeshu, in the heat and cold, in the suffering and joy, maintaining the calmness. It does not mean you will try to be same in the time of expression or in the time of depression. You will just travel totally into the expression and totally into the depression. When you travel totally into the depression and totally into the expression, you don't have something called depression. the very depression disappears from your life. Cold is nothing but your resistance towards the outside temperature. Once you start living, you get habituated. It is the initial resistance towards the atmosphere or weather only is called as cold. Same way, Sita and Ushna, both are nothing but your resistance towards the atmosphere. Dukkha or the Sukha is nothing but your labels about your experiences. You can label any experience as a depression or as an expression. It is just your label which makes something as depression or something as expression. Thank you. So, I presented the subject. Your questions are welcome. We'll try to respond. Let us respond to your questions. First question, Swamiji, I am a Christian. I am attending your lectures which are based on Hinduism. What are your thoughts about Christianity and its teachings? You missed the whole lecture. If you think my lectures are based on Hinduism, you missed the whole point. A small story. It really happened, not even a story, it's a history, fact. One very senior Christian preacher, very elderly person who is very popular as a healer in South India, is a very popular person who preaches the message of God and who is a popular healer also. One day, without any information, surprising way, he came to see me. Of course, for the sake of keeping his respect, I do not want to mention his name. He came to meet me. I didn't expect that he will come so suddenly or surprisingly. After meeting or after talking some time, he started telling about his problems, his feeling of depression or his pain, some of his mental disturbances, and he wants solution from me. After a few minutes I told him, let me give you a small book, please read that book, that will give you the guidance and solution. I went and brought a small book and gave it to him. He was shocked seeing that book. The book is nothing but Bible. I just gave him Bible. Told him, please read. Problems will be solved. It is not that I was making fun of him. No. He told me, Swamiji, this is the book I am preaching. Yes, I understand. You must have read for the sake of preaching. Please read for the sake of practicing. If you have listened my discourses for the sake of practicing, you will understand I am not speaking Hinduism. I am speaking the essence of the spirituality, essence of religions. What Jesus said, the same thing I am quoting, same thing I am speaking. If you remove Christianity from Jesus, remove Hinduism from rishis, what rishis spoke and what Jesus spoke is one and the same. It is the appendix, it is the attachment of Hinduism to the rishis and Christianity to the Christ is the problem. And rishis never heard even the word Hinduism. Christ never heard the word Christianity. Neither Christ heard the word Christianity, nor the rishis knows the word Hinduism. Both are just additions later on, done to them. I tell you, Hinduism is the worst conspiracy against rishis. Buddhism is the worst conspiracy against Buddha. Christianity is the worst conspiracy against Christ. If you have to find Buddha, the last place he will be found is a Buddhist monastery. If you want to find the devotion, the last place will be the priest's heart. Priests are the people who have become professionals. Philosophers are the people who have become professional sellers of best-selling ideology. If you want to find the relics or the ashes of Buddha, go to Buddhist monasteries. Ashes of Christ, go to Christian missionaries. Ashes of rishis, go to Hindu monasteries. The monasteries are not the place where the spirituality thrived. That is the problem. When we give emphasis to the Gita, the spirituality grows. When you give emphasis to the Krishna, religion grows. The problem is, mass is always trained to worship heroes. Hero worship is the mass psychology. That is the reason we create religions out of masters instead of spirituality out of masters. Buddha is the man, 40 years he was telling no idol worship, no idol worship, no idol worship. Today, Buddha's idols are the more number in the world, in the planet Earth than any other master. Buddha is the man who receives maximum idol worship on the planet Earth than any other god. Never think Shiva. Neither Shiva nor Ganesha, Buddha. According to the survey, Buddha, because every Buddhist temple has got 20,000 Buddha, 30,000 Buddha statues. No Buddha temple will be less than 10,000. 10,000 Buddhas is the minimum number of statues. Buddha is the man throughout his life preached against idol worship. Just the moment Buddha died, Buddhism started erecting statues of Buddha. And what size? You cannot imagine the statues of Buddha, the size of the statues of the Buddha. So, when masters die, religions are created around them. The thing which I am speaking is neither Hinduism nor Christianity. It is based on the science of spirituality. Outer religion is science, inner science is religion. Whatever facts and figures collected about the outer world is the science. Whatever facts and figures collected about the inner world is religion. The rishis who did a deep research on the inner world, they published their research report. Their research reports are only called as Upanishads. Whatever they did research, whatever their discoveries, they published in the name of Upanishads. So, I am speaking based on the research reports of rishis who are inner scientists. So, it neither belongs to Hinduism nor belongs to Christianity. Of course, you see my dress or my outer life looks more resembles to the Hinduism. It looks more related to Hinduism. There are few reasons. Have you heard of this color therapy? In modern day, it's becoming popular. Every color is associated to some emotion. They say, if you use the red light in your bedroom, you will not have a deep sleep. You will have too much of nightmares. If you use light blue lamp in your bedroom, you will have a deep sleep. Like this, every color has got its own impact on your unconsciousness, its own effect on your unconscious system. This color creates the impact of energy and awareness. Awareness an energy is created by this color. That is the reason I am using this color. The same way dot. Dot is a technique to awaken the third eye. So these are just used as a scientific tools or the methods to keep yourself alive and joyful. They are nowhere related to some religion. They are nowhere related to some ritual. If you come and stay around me in India, then you will understand I am actually anti-Hindu. When you live around me, you will understand our ashram is the place where there is no rituals happens. I can't even say I am anti-Hindu. I am above Hinduism. Even anti-Hinduism is nothing above Hinduism. It's again one more religion, one more sect. Hinduism and anti-Hinduism. Both are religions. I am not even anti. I am above. I neither practice some religion nor preach some religion. So, if you think I am based on Hinduism, you missed the discourse. Open your eyes, open your ears, listen totally. Christians do not believe in reincarnation. Is there any reference in the Bible to reincarnation? From what I understood today, there is no God and we are God. Am I correct? Christians do not believe in reincarnation. Is there any reference in the Bible to reincarnation? I tell you, Jesus did not speak about reincarnation. Jesus said there is only one life. He used that as a technique. When Jesus says there is only one life, live it totally. Live now itself. Whatever you want to achieve it now itself. He uses that method as a technique. It is not fact, but it is truth. Understand the difference between fact and truth. There are few things which are not fact, but which can push you into truth. He is just urging you, don't postpone understanding about life or reaching the state of enlightenment, reaching the state of Christ consciousness. Don't postpone it. If you have an idea, you have so many lives. We always tell, many people come and tell me, Swamiji, meditation is not for me, at least in this Janma. Let me practice next Janma. So the postponing, laziness, if you can't practice in this Janma, how do you expect you will practice next Janma? You will learn only how to postpone. Once you learn how to postpone, you master the art of postponing. The eternal postponement happens. Now or never. To give you the inspiration, now or never. To give you the feeling of urgency. Your urge should become urgent. Your questions should become questions. To make you urgent about the spiritual growth. To make you more thirsty, spiritual energy, spiritual practice, to make you grow. Theory of one life, theory of no incarnation, theory of no birth after death is also a technique. It's a method used by Jesus, used by some of the mystics to put you into the real seeking, to make you grow spiritually. There is a beautiful saying by George Gurdjieff, a great enlightened master who lived in Russia. He says, there is no soul, you have to create your soul. What he means, he doesn't mean the fact, he means the truth. He is inspiring you to practice meditation. He is inspiring you to get into the spiritual experience. Of course, in a way, as long as you have not experienced whether soul is there or not, it is no way useful for you. So, when he says there is no soul, it doesn't mean the fact. He means he inspires you. He wants you to enter into the techniques, meditation, to grow more, to reach the reality, to reach the soul, to reach the enlightenment state. So, the Christ teaching that there is only one life is an inspiration technique to make you spiritually grow, to put you into the deep spiritual thirst. Third question, from what I understood today, there is no God and we are God. Am I correct? See the question. If you say there is no God, how can you be God? There is God, you are God. If you say there is no God, you first deny the God's experience, existence. Then how can you say that you are God? Then you deny your existence. So, it is not that there is no God and you are God. There is God, you are God. There is God, you are that. There is a divine. There is a ultimate energy which is intelligence, not only energy. Energy without intelligence is force. Force with intelligence is energy. It's not even a planet, a whole universe.